Hey, welcome to Jack Theology.
Yeah, good to see you, man.
Heard you just got done with
I did. Yeah, just
PT
got
or
just got
something.
out of PT. Yeah, physical therapy, dry needling, which I think is just a less scary way to say acupuncture. Um,
Yeah.
the first time through it was fairly painful. This time I only screamed like a 10-year-old girl twice, so I thought that was improvement.
Yeah, it must be getting stronger or more numb to the pain, maybe. I don't
Yeah, something's happening.
know. Well, I hope that gets better. Um, Seen you posing online, rehearsing yourself for the big day, I see.
Yeah, just kind of inviting people into the journey to experience the neurosis with me of the final thing to the end. And I figured too it would just be a good idea, because randomly probably pictures of me up posing on a stage are going to show up online. So it's like at least let's just get people warmed up to this idea of what's going on and why I'm doing it. That way I don't get all of those I can't believe a pastor is doing that kind of thing.
I was just gonna ask if you got any of those comments.
I have not yet. In the past, I have. I usually end up blocking those people. But yeah, I mean, I get it. There is this part that's like, you don't necessarily want to see your spiritual leader, necessarily without their shirt on or in that, in that way. But also, there's a part of it that's like, we're people just like you. It, I think, helps to see us just as normal other people, and God created our physical bodies as well, and if I'm able to encourage people to take care of them, then I think that's a positive thing, and it's not easy to do, whether it's me or whether it's you.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's good. Um, Yeah, I was looking at some of your photos and I was thinking about. I mean, this is probably after show topics, but all the fish that you're eating is paying off. So yeah, kudos
Thank
to
it is it,
you.
it literally is all that. In fact, I'm late for eating my first fish lunch. um, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
I'm at that size now where it's like I've not been at this weight or body fat. I'm right there on the cusp of the lowest I've been probably since like high school or middle school, but never had this much muscle. So it's this weird like thing that messes with your mind. I look at those pictures and I'm like, that guy looks like he needs to be on Feed the Children. Like you're at that size. You're at that size where it's like this is not like aesthetic in any way. Like you need to put some meat on the bones, but that's not the point, right? I mean, the point is challenging yourself to get to a point where you look emaciated so that you can see what's underneath it. But you don't want to
yeah,
stay. You don't want to stay there. I don't want to stay there. I know it doesn't look necessarily pleasing, but that's not the point. Most people don't look at those folks up on stage and go, "That just looks kind of pleasing to me. I want to look like that."
um, yeah. So you could give a testimony to the fact that it's near impossible to stay like that all the time, like the ads would like to tell you.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
You
some
should do.
people do, or at least they try to make you think you do. Even these fitness influencers online who, they show up and they're ripped, and absolutely like what looks like zero body fat, which is impossible. You'd be dead. But even those guys don't usually stay at that weight year round. They just take pictures when they are at that weight, and those seasons where they're
Yeah,
not at that weight, they just post pictures from the times that they were. And so, it's
yeah,
just kind of
exactly.
creating
Yeah.
creating this mirage. For most folks, men, I think it's like 15% body fat is kind of ideal. For most women, I think it's around 20% is kind of this ideal aesthetic and health trade-off. But yeah, for what you do to get on stage, you can only stay in that for a few weeks because it's not healthy to do that. So I'm at the cusp of that unhealthy, place, and it shows.
All right. Good job, man. So today I thought we'd talk about where is God in kind of natural disasters. We had a big hurricane Helene go through, I guess, 2 weeks ago now. And then this week it's Hurricane Milton going through. And I'm sure even dating back before Katrina, but Katrina is when I was in ministry and aware of what other church leaders were saying. A lot of the a lot of church leaders were saying God sent Katrina to punish New Orleans because of their evil there.
Yeah.
Which, ironically enough, the Katrina didn't actually attack the evil part, what they would deem as the evil part of New Orleans. It attacked the impoverished areas, so that kind of fell flat. But that's
Yeah.
been a constant thing, and so I think we've heard it. We've definitely heard it over the last few
Yeah.
weeks.
I don't, was it Pat Robertson, who was the one who was saying that about Katrina? I don't remember, from 700
And
Club.
it was Pat
I'm sure he's
Robertson.
not the
Even
first person
Piper.
who's ever
Piper
said, that some natural disaster, was the judgment of God. But I know that Pat Robertson became the guy who said that over a period of time. But now, you're right with Helene, and now with Milton, you're kind of hearing that and seeing that in lots of different places in Christendom, rather than just a few nutcases who are saying it. Now it's being said a lot. I'm hearing it more. I don't know. And I don't know how comfortable I am with that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It definitely gives us in the lectionary readings. God always tends to work this way. One of the lectionary readings, the Old Testament lectionary readings right now, is the story of Job, the book of Job. And Job, some of the there's a book out there, I forget the author's name, but he writes, and I tend to agree, it makes a lot of sense. He frames it that Job is actually 4 different views of God that people traditionally hold. And then the last view, that Job kind of speaks about who, at least the author of Job thought the real God was like. And in there, you have Job's friends thinking a lot like we think in America. And I think even taking Pat Robertson out of this, I think a lot of folks think that God, if there's enough sin in an area, that God will smite them, and that God will send bad things. I've heard this in my office many times, where people are have some bad situation going on, and they confess some sin and think that that's why, right? Because they sinned in their past, that they have gotten this punishment now. So it's a common, I think, misconception of who God is.
Yeah. I mean, we want to think
God
that,
is,
right? I mean, there are moments where I've wanted to think that about other people. Whenever judgment is visited upon the unrighteous, there's a part of me on the inside that's yes, finally somebody got what they deserved. But then whenever it comes to you, it's well, this isn't what's going on. God isn't punishing me. This is just random chance. This is happenstance. This is just the world and fate.
Yeah. It's random happenstance. It's fate. I mean, God's not like a puppet master up there trying to make bad things happen to bad people or people he doesn't like, or even good people. I think we live in a world that, I mean, I don't even know if God allows is the right word, but God's created a world that is free. It's moving. There's different dynamics. And, we're not robots. And so because of freedom, choices are made. Hurricane Milton coming is it seems like every storm lately is the greatest and largest storm of all time. Right.
I think I'm tired of hearing the word unprecedented, and we hear it about every storm, everything, every election, every economic change. It's unprecedented. I'm tired of it. I want something precedented.
Which is interesting. So some of this is because of choices that we have made, right? They say global warming is causing more of these. In fact, I just saw too that the first hurricane in history is going to hit Europe, because most hurricanes that head towards Europe dissipate before they actually make land. But this one is actually going to hit land as a hurricane for the first time in history. So, clearly, whether it's global warming or global freezing or whatever, there's been changes in our environment because of choices that humans have made that cause these things. So, to get worse and worse. Obviously, there's always been hurricanes and storms of this nature, but yeah, they're unprecedented, and they are. I mean, they have science to back them on that. So Yeah, I don't think God's up there doing that. In the scriptures, God doesn't ever promise his people that they're not going to experience this. In fact, he tells you you're going to experience destruction, you're going to experience suffering, you're going to experience, I think in Matthew and in Revelation, he lists things like this, like storms, floods, craziness, earthquakes that are going to destroy. And he doesn't say that Christians, and if you're good,
Yeah.
you get a pass, right?
Well, yeah, and it's fascinating too because it's like one of the things that is like Bible 101, God 101 is this fact that so often whoever were the people of God uh were not necessarily seen as being the people of God. Like one of the things that comes out a lot in the New Testament is you can't judge the spiritual state of somebody else. And what you see so often in scripture is it telling us, reminding us, you're going to judge wrongly. Only God looks on the heart. You can't look on the inside. Only you see what's on the outside. And so it's fascinating to me that whenever these people are looking at this other group of people like, New Orleans or some other place, Appalachia, saying this is the judgment of God, on something for something, we're making a judgment call when we say that and saying those people deserve to be judged rather than me. So it's just such a violation, I think, of one of the basic principles of scripture to look at somebody else and to judge whom God would judge more than you. It's like, is there any self-awareness or understanding of the Bible whatsoever for you to say that those people are more deserving of that than I am for this reason? Because in scripture we always see that the people who are doing that were the ones who were in greater need of that judgment. So just even on the surface saying that, I think that God is sending calamity to somebody else for something that they have done just rips open the state of our heart and shows how completely and utterly black it is in relation to the heartbeat of God.
Yeah, it, yeah, it's disappointing, and it leads to, I think, some deconstruction. It leads to people walking away from the faith. Well, if God can do that, then I'm not going to follow that God, right? What God does promise, and what is true, and what we can see it, now with videos going out everywhere, you can see it firsthand. What God does promise is that He'll be with His people in the midst of the suffering.
Yeah.
There's countless stories of people, neighbors, loving neighbors, and helping each other get rescued. Even those who perished, God was with them. Even when they perished, and welcomed them into His loving arms. And so, even in the midst of like the most tragic thing that could happen, God was there. He wasn't causing it. He wasn't making it happen, but He was there to comfort His people, humanity, to the other side with Him. So even in that, I think we need to look at God as a loving God. He is love. He's not the cause of this heartache. And so that's how we need to look at God. That's how, when we look at these things, God moves and works. And yeah, it's tragic. These disasters stink. I mean, you've lived through them. I know I've lived through, one of the major ones, one of the big ones, Sandy, back, it's been, wow, a dozen years now. But I can just remember, being, I didn't know what to do. So me and my buddies from the church, we just drove down to where we knew, just down the road a few miles, where we knew like the storm surge had destroyed communities, and just started knocking on doors and helping people. The first family we helped, I saw videos of it for this last one. They're literally just sitting in like floodwater, and we helped kind of drag them out and get help, and you kind of went from there. And to me, that's what God's about. And to me, we were the hands and feet of God, and we see that over and over, in with a lot of these stories. And so,
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. There's just such a pervasive in the church, a pervasive Old Testament view, I think, of God. This idea of an angry, vengeful God who is taking out his frustrations upon humanity. And so much, I think, of what we see in the Old Testament is people's viewpoint of a God. You're getting an Iron Age perspective of trying to assess and understand and make sense of the world around them. We still do that today, right? With things, I mean, a hurricane hits Appalachia, a hurricane hits Vegas, a hurricane hits Florida and causes all of this destruction. And we begin to ask these questions: where is God in all of this? And when we don't have great answers to some of those things, or we don't have specific concrete answers to some of those things, we try and find things to say that make sense of the chaos around us. We see that in the Old Testament as well. And I think so much of what we see in the Old Testament with God is people trying to make sense of all of the chaos and the war and the hurt and the destruction around them. And a lot of it gets pinned on God. You know, we see in a lot of ways people blaming God for a lot of things that I just don't think were God's fault. And I think we still see that even today.
It's the rational mind. It's modernity. It's back before modernity, people dealt with these things all the time. And I know just from reading early church fathers, they just knew God was with them in the midst of suffering, and suffering was just part of the deal of being human. And their hope was not that God would completely stop the suffering. Their hope was that God would be with them and help them through it. And then once we got that rational scientific mind, that, like what you're saying, we had to explain it. And so now it's, well, if God's all powerful and all sovereign, then he must have caused that thing. And then we take it to the next step where Pat Robertson is like, well, I think that town's evil, so God sent that storm there because they're evil, you know? And then most rational minds could think, oh, yeah, maybe he's right. Maybe that is what God is like. And some accept it and go crazy and become Christian nationalist nuts on Twitter, and others decide they don't want to. They reject that God. They don't
But we
want
want it, right?
to
I mean,
follow
we
that
want
God.
it. If we could control God and what he does, if we can make God angry enough at a certain group of people, a certain thing that we don't like, then we can control and wield God's power. It's the same reason why Trump. It's the same reason why the GOP. It's right. Like, it's all about power and it's all about control. And if we can control God, then it's great. I mean, all of this talk over the last few weeks about controlling the weather, like, you know, that they can control the weather. It's not that they're fearful of controlling the weather. It's that they want to be the ones who control the weather. Like, they want to be the ones who send the hurricane.
Yeah.
Like,
we are God.
This is exactly it. Is we are playing God, and we're playing. We used to play it just on the philosophical side, but now we're really trying to play it now on the ideological side, you know, as well. Yeah, we can control the weather. So let's control the weather and send it in certain ways, because certainly people are doing that to us. So let's do it back to them. And it's just, do you hear? You're like, have you lost your minds? And yes, they have. Yes, we have. It's insanity. Yes. Literal insanity.
I was thinking about that too this week. The idea that somehow now the government is God that can control the weather. But I read a funny meme.
Tax control right. How are they going to get?
I know.
Can I get my tax return right? How are they going to control the weather? I mean, I don't.
No. I saw this today. If a blue state gets hit by a hurricane, it's because God hates the gays. If a red state gets hit, it's because Democrats control the weather.
You know, I mean, everybody on all sides in all places. I mean, though, that's a great example of what we do, right? Yeah. And hearing it like that makes the insanity of it all obvious, and it is.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, and that's part of it too. Is right now, and it infuriates me to no end that we have one politician in particular using these tragedies to try to gain political points. And to me, that's just sick. It just reeks, you know, that you're using people's death and tragedy and suffering to try to win, a political point. Yeah. It's evil. It really is evil. It's sin. And then the fact that then all these, you know, Christians with Jack theology
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, are right in
follow
there with
him.
it, right? Yeah. Well, the
Yeah.
ends justify the means, and Christianity has become the same thing that now politics has become, where the ends justify the means. You know, the end for a long time was getting the Supreme Court to be strongly, Republican. So anything, all is fair in love and war. Anything, any duplicitousness, any lying, any chaos is acceptable in order for the right thing to be done. And you even start seeing pastors now saying that Chase Davis and other idiots out there, Adam, what's his face? They're all doing the same. Ends justify the means. It's okay for me to lie, to deceive, to be dishonest, Josh Dawes, all of them, in order to get God's will done in the end. Any path to get there is acceptable. And where did this Christianity come from? Like where is that other than a extreme cultural secular demonic influence in the church? Because it's certainly not from Christ. It's certainly not from the Bible. It's certainly not spirit led.
No.
Good, because that was the only right answer to that was no.
No. It's I yeah, those guys are insane because they keep moving the goalposts too. You know, the end justified the means when it was about he's going to eliminate abortion, but now it's clear he's not going to eliminate abortion. So now it's just he's going to help us be more Christian. I don't know. I'm not clear on it. I mean, I've been sent articles. Some people say, well, the immigration is their issue now. I don't think they even know because they had the abortion thing for so long, and now they're just like in shambles because they realize he's not going to give it to them. Yeah. But
it is interesting though, the immigrant thing. It is interesting that this does seem to be resonating. That this may be the next, abortion, the next Roe v. Wade, topic. Which fits because, unfortunately, what we see in those camps is a extreme anti-love of neighbor. And so, it would make sense that among a very evangelical base, something that is very anti-human would be something that would resonate there. Something that is extremely anti-pro-life. I don't know. I think, sadly, unfortunately, they may be onto something with the immigrant refugee
it might be.
situation being their primary platform talking point.
Yeah. I think they've wed themselves so much to Trump and the GOP that they have to figure something out. And yeah, that might be the next logical move. And I've seen it a lot, like people yelling from the mountaintops that we don't need to help anybody, like literally saying we're not going to help our neighbors. We're not going to, try to take care of them. We got to take care of ourselves only. So anti-gospel, Jesus, all of the above. I don't even think they claim Jesus anymore. I don't even know why they use the word Christian.
Shouldn't the first of my resources go to my people? I don't know if you've read the scripture, but Jesus has a whole lot of statements in there about like cattle on 1,000 hills and owning all of it. And all that I heard growing up from the evangelical community was you can't outgive God, so give more in the tithe plate. Where did the whole you can't outgive God go? Like this idea that you live in a resource limited situation where you can only take care of your family or your kin, that's a lie. I see what you spend money on. You spend it on you spend it on guns. You spend it on boats. But really, I mean, come on. Like, I'm not buying what you're selling here. Like, you have money, and your whole theology states that you can't outgive God, and that you should try. But because they're brown, because they're not legal, really it just comes down to they're not white. They're not white middle class. Yeah. They're not white middle class folk. They make you uncomfortable.
It's a racist trope. Yeah. It's
100%. 100%.
yeah. Well, the whole thing is racist, right? The whole thing, because I don't know what the percentage is, but the majority of folks that
100%. No, I don't know.
that well, the majority of the folks that have abortions even are not white, and so it's a whole thing against those, of another color. So it's all kind of racist if you really go dive deep into it. And I think it, yeah, so it makes sense that they would jump to immigration. I just think that they're kind of floundering and trying to figure that out. They're having those
Yeah,
conversations publicly, so, and it very well is probably that the build the wall thing will be back, and obviously the homosexual marriage thing could be part of that as well. I think there's some fears there. Um, so yeah, so tragedy, disaster, and using it for political gain. We see, just constant leveraging of people's hurt, their pain, right now, especially for political ends, and it's not that's not of God. That's that's evil. And I've been in some squabbles this week on socials over that, and of course the people that are lashing out against me are evangelicals, and a few of them are folks that have said, "Oh, I don't like Trump either," and it's like, well, it seems like you do. It seems like you do. You're defending him here. If you didn't like him, why wouldn't you just jump on the bandwagon with me? So that'll be interesting too. Kind of rabbit trailing a little bit, but when he won in 16, a lot of people, didn't want to admit publicly that they were voting for him and ended up voting for him. I think we're going to see some of that where people are saying, "Oh, I'll vote third party," and then
I
they'll
did.
definitely end up, yeah, voting for him. So yeah, I think we'll see a lot of that, and yeah,
Somebody today was like, you need to read J.C. Ryle, Old Paths or something like that. You need to understand the other side. I'm like, oh my gosh.
oh yeah,
If you think I need to understand the other side of the things I talk about today, you don't know me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You get in a lot of arguments and fights with. There's probably somebody texting me right now. Yep, I got them lit, man.
Uh oh. Did you post something?
No, it's just a continual
Oh.
conversation with somebody in my DMs. Yeah. But most of the people I'm in dialogue with know me from years ago, and so they know I know everything. Where you're dealing with a lot of people that don't really know you online, which makes it even more fun, I think, for you.
Yeah.
And you could toy with them a little bit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is funny when people do that, though. They're like, "You should really study our side. I think you might learn a thing or two." I went to Cedarville.
Yeah. You just don't know conservatives.
We fasted for a week
Today I got called
for Bush to get elected.
an angry liberal. You angry liberals. You need to study up on what conservative theology really means. Okay. who do you want to know about? I'll fill you in.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
I
I was
effing graduated from Dallas Theological Seminary. Don't give me that.
Yeah, you went
From the
you went all in.
dispensationalism, center of the universe.
Did you guys we fasted Bush's year. They had us do like a week-long fast at Cedarville that he would get elected.
No, I don't remember doing a fast at
And
Cedarville.
because well, I get you graduated when
At
did
the
you
end of Paul
99
Dixon
or
in 2000. So Paul Dixon's last year.
2000? Oh, so I came in the fall right after you graduated. That's right. So the fall of 2000, when the election for Bush and Gore,
Yeah.
and they were counting the vote in Florida. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
And we fasted
Huh.
for a week. Cedarville campus-wide fast that Bush would win.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll never forget that. So yeah, we were in it, man. We were in it. Oh,
Yeah, it's gone. Well, I mean, it used to be
oh,
lightly Baptist back in our days. Now it's gone full tilt Baptist. It went
oh,
Southern
yeah, yeah,
Baptist, now. So
yeah,
very,
yeah.
I'm sure I told you this. I was in a group thing with the current president at Cedarville at one of the homecoming events back when I went, and he was just applauding the fact that to us alumni that they had this huge opening to their year, and a whole bunch of people had gotten saved. And he was just like applauding how many kids had gotten saved, at Cedarville who were students. And I was like, I feel like you have an application issue there. You really should fire your VP of enrollment. If you're enrolling a whole bunch of kids who aren't saved, like it's on the application, right?
Yeah, you have to say you're a Christian to go there.
I wouldn't be
Yeah.
like applauding this as being some great thing for you. I feel like this is a broken system. And I see that a lot,
We
right? In fundamentalism and in conservative institutions. It's just a lot of broken systems and thinking. And it's like, come on, wake up, look at this. I know that it resonates among your in crowd, but from the outside, everybody's looking in saying, y'all crazy.
Yeah. Well, how many times did you get saved growing up? I think I
Oh, I mean, a lot, because fear, right? I mean, you're
yeah.
fearful that hell thing hanging out there. A
Yeah, I got
lot.
saved
I did. A lot.
dozens of times. So I should be good when we get to glory.
I should.
Jesus, I prayed that prayer no less than 100
People all the
times.
time are like, you just wait, until you're standing in front of Jesus. Just wait. I'm like, are you scared? Because I'm kind of looking, I'm not scared. I'm kind of looking forward to that. I understand your theology. I understand that I'm supposed to be cowering in fear before God in that moment. And maybe I will, but I just have to tell you, I don't have that view of God. I'm not terrified to look Jesus in the eye. I understand that I'm
Yeah.
broken. I understand that I make mistakes. I understand that you're standing there before a holy God, and I'm probably going to crap myself. But I'm not fearful of that moment. And if you are, we should probably talk about that a little bit, because there may be something going on that shouldn't be going on in your spiritual life.
Yeah. Well, that's a good example of what's happening here, right? Like hell. Like I saw you going at it uh a little bit this week, and we've talked about it on here. But like evangelicals cannot suspend reality that their view of hell is not actually what's talked about in the Bible.
Yeah, shaped
Like,
more by culture than by the Bible. Exactly.
yeah,
Evangelical. I think the idea suspend reality is great. They cannot for a moment step out and conceive that what they view and picture and think of as hell. Yeah, that's a great way to say it. Is formed more by culture and the world than it is by actual what's in the Bible.
because I just saw that two texts come in for two different people, um, just are on fire. That I would say Trump was lying about the government response in North Carolina when they
I mean, it's
can't
factual.
possibly
There's
they,
no, you
so
can't
yeah.
even argue it.
Oh
You
no,
can argue.
like
You can argue
I
lots of things, but that one's black and white, right?
dude, I am the devil for bringing that up. That my friends on the ground are lying. Ben Marsh is lying to us. Um, anyways, it's fascinating. So yeah, the hell thing, they won't ever get over that. In it's ingrained, and me and you are definitely going to hell in their minds. And
Without hell, what do they have? I
yeah,
mean, and
yeah,
this is the real thing that I would just love to encourage evangelicals to really step back from and start from that point. Let's just for a moment say that somebody else is right about hell and you're not. I want you to sit in that for a moment, because the reality is they need hell, and that prevents them from actually having a more biblical understanding of hell.
preach, man. They need hell because then what are you saved from? Like, what's the gospel, right?
What leverage do
That
you have?
there,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
There's no good news without hell in their minds. It like that's why they look at these storms the way they do, I think it is very connected because God did cause the storms because He's causing the hell in their these people's lives that deserve it.
You know who never preached on
Um,
hell? Anyone in the Book of Acts.
yeah, oh, yeah, that's a
Any of the
great
early
point.
church. Like, go ahead and do a
Uh,
word search. Go ahead and do a study on hell and see how many
yeah,
times the people at the very beginning talked to it. None of them. Look at Paul. Almost nothing. And the things that are taken to mean that are taken wrongly if you really look at what's being said. Like, it's just
yeah.
whatever.
No, it's so true.
Even even if hell does exist in the way that evangelicals are perceiving it, I think it says something that the early church was like, nah, we don't need it.
Well, yeah, they that's not that's not why people came to Christ. And they didn't come to Christ either to get out of their suffering, because most of the folks that came to Christ were suffering poor. And so, what was it? I mean, that's what evangelicals should ask is like, because they also have a view of God that God's going to save them from the suffering because of their pious stuff, right?
And hence comes another
Um,
non-biblical topic, the rapture.
yeah,
They're going to get the hell out
yeah,
of here so that they can avoid hell on earth
yeah,
during the tribulation.
yeah, yeah. It's all connected.
Yeah. But now the new one is post-millennialism, right? Where they actually get to stay here through all of the chaos. God's not going to take them out. So they get to rule,
Oh yeah,
and
they're
be,
going to be in charge though. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
So now
yeah.
it's not we get out of here. And now it's like, oh, actually, we get to stay and treat everybody like shit. Ooh, I'm post-mill. It's the new reform thing.
Yeah. That was a very Acts 29 cool thing to be is post millennial. Um, I saw. Did you see a picture of Wilson and Doug Wilson and Dale that Dale posted the other day?
Dale has blocked me. So no, I did
Oh,
not actually see that. Okay.
it actually. I mean, Doug's a bigger man, but he's not super large. Like I would say, he's a kind of an average American
Medium.
dad bod,
Yeah.
grandpa bod, whatever.
Yeah.
Dale looked like he was a third the size of him. Like, no wonder Dale's the way he is. He's got that small man. He's probably 5'3" and like a stick. He can't weigh more than 120 pounds. I was like, holy cow!
I'm gonna
That
have to find this
explained a
picture
lot.
now.
Yeah, you should. I'll find it too and send it to you. It was like I
Sweet
was just like,
Dale.
whoa!
Sweet Dale.
It explained a lot when I saw that. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And but a lot of these guys too, it's like they're on this power trip, right? They have no other power anywhere else, and so here's their opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, I see
And
that
what?
in churches, on boards. Everybody's
Yeah,
everybody's taking out within the kingdom of God the deficiencies, the vices, all of the things that are problematic in their real lives, and they bring it into the church and try to have the
yeah.
control they don't have in their life, try to have the leadership they don't have in their, and it goes toxic and sideways.
We should do a blog post on that, or of podcast on what we wish we knew. I was thinking about that for
Horror,
topics.
maybe that should be something for Halloween. Horror stories, church horror
Yeah,
stories.
yeah. Because I was just thinking about all the things like all the stories we have. We should tell some of them. And
Yeah, and I probably threw far enough away from most of them that I could probably tell them all. I don't even know that I have to change the names.
Oh, that's
I
so
tell you,
funny.
some
That's
people will be
amazing.
sweating.
Could call it Kevin tells all.
There you go.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny. Um, I saw Sally posted welcoming Florida friends to your house to stay if they needed it. And
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got it downstairs, and people
and
are have been getting out of Florida, and having lived in Florida for a while, it's like we understand what it's like to have to evacuate.
yeah, but she said something at the end of it like, "We really mean it," or something like that for all of you.
Yeah.
And I was like, even the haters, you know.
Well,
Yeah. So
actually, yeah, my wife, she would 100%. She 100% let
yeah.
them in. They might get a conversation at some point, but but she absolutely, yeah, she absolutely, any
Yeah,
of them, yeah,
yeah,
she would. Me, I don't know. She would.
yeah.
She's far better than I am in that respect. You know, she may
That's
hold a
great.
grudge longer than I do, but you're not gonna know it.
Yeah, yeah. She's good. I kind of chuckled a little bit just knowing all your stories. I'm like, I wonder if they met everybody. But
It's a good. You should have asked.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, there are
Yeah,
a
we're
few.
called to love our enemies.
There are a few people who are like, "Do I want God to send a hurricane to him or not?" I mean, but I'm human, right? We ask that. It's like,
Oh, I
okay,
know.
that
Yeah.
destruction, natural disaster is coming this way. There's a part of me that kind of says you deserve a little bit of that, but then it's like, oh, come on, Kevin, that's not
Well,
right.
that should tell you. That should tell you everything about that kind of mindset of God too. Like when we all kind of think that, and we know intuitively that's not a right thing to think, but yet then we want to put that on God.
Yeah.
Like what? You know? Yeah. Sad, but I think we covered it. Um, Covered some news too, kind
All
of
right.
mixed in there. Do some after show.
All right. Let's do it. Let's kick it. All right, the part of the show where Matt and I catch up on the fitness journey, the after show. Welcome back. Well, Matt, how's it going, man? How's the how's the fitness? How's the training? How's the eating?
Pretty good. I hurt my foot. Uh,
We're
it's
getting old. It's something every week, right?
yeah. So I I ran a little bit last week, and then I've not run yet this week. So resting the foot. I went over to the muscle mill today to do some bodybuilding lifting.
Nice.
So that was nice. Saw some of my friends in there, so that was good. Um, yeah, I feel pretty good. I feel good. I'm feeling leaner. The weight's kind of plateaued a bit. So I think since I started this, I'm like down like 20 pounds. Um, so it's kind of stagnated a little bit. So I gotta I can lock the diet even better. So I need to do that. Um, but overall, it's been solid. I've been you know taking a little bit extra French fries from my kids you know cup when I shouldn't probably.
Yeah,
Um,
though it's getting to that time where the season is tough. Like you get the Halloween candy coming, then you get the
yeah.
Thanksgiving meals, then you have all of the Christmas cookies and desserts, and yeah, it's at this point I feel like you're kind of in the season where it's like, can I just hang on without like completely losing it before
I know,
January?
like yeah. I can't have that mindset though, because then I'll let myself go. It'll My pants won't fit.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. That's the hard part, right? You lose 20 pounds, and then it's like you blow it all away over the holidays. So yeah, that would be
Yeah,
that would not feel fun to have to regain all that 20 pounds back again afterwards. So
yeah,
hopefully you can manage it well enough to get through.
yeah. I don't know what else to say. I got my race coming up in a few weeks. Hopefully, my foot does all right. Um, and I'll at least get Sunday morning off. Took the morning off because the race is a Sunday morning. So,
Nice.
um, yeah, I'll have the Sunday off. So, looking forward to that. Actually, we pastors we don't get Sundays off.
No, and at first I was like, why do they schedule races and things on Sunday mornings? But then it's like actually, this is a great excuse to have to be forced to take a day off. So congrats for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I feel good. I feel like I'm in a rhythm, routine, um, and just keep grinding away. Keep, as I say, consistency over time will lead to the results you seek. So,
Yeah, I hear that. Right.
yeah, got some chicken in the crock pot right now.
Ooh, there you go.
Be some dinner. I'm not doing the well. I do fish, but I'm not gonna do it like you. You know, every
I do
meal.
get 5 ounces of chicken a day, um,
Okay.
10 ounces of fish, and some eggs in the morning, and a little bit of oatmeal. A spot of oatmeal.
How many more weeks do you have?
Yeah, so essentially 3 weeks out. It's the first weekend in November. At this point, you know, you're kind of in the coast. I'm doing carb cycling, which means 4 days a week. I eat almost nothing, and then one day a week I get a high carb day to refill the tanks. So that's good on those 4 days where the carbs are low. If I'm smiling, it's hiding extreme rage behind that thin veneer of a smile. You know, you're at that point where you're getting so few calories. You're just kind of angry all the time. Like what was it the Hulk said in one of the Avengers movies? You know, my secret is I'm always angry. So that's how I feel. You know, right now I'm also at the point where I'm like sneaking 4 almonds, you know, in between meals as a cheat. Which sounds just completely and utterly like, shut up, Kevin, you're an idiot. But you know, you put all this time and effort and energy into it. It's like you don't want to destroy it, but also it's like I don't know how much longer I can do this. But you know, the finish
I had
line
a
is
friend.
in
Yeah,
sight.
I had a friend who did strongman, but it was weight class. So he a month leading in, he would do like you're doing. He would eat basically nothing to drop weight to get ready to hit the weight class. And as soon as his weigh-in was over, he would gain like 15, 20 pounds of a couple of days during the competition. He was just eating whatever. It
Yeah, I'm
was
pretty sure I'm
funny.
going to eat my weight in Nutella. You know, the moment that I can, just get it. You know, just by the bucket full of Nutella.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I mean
Nice.
things are going well. I'm on track. The posing is the hardest. You know, having to like hold yourself on stage correctly to put your best form forward. So it's like I thought that the hard part would actually just be like getting to the right size and definition that I need, but it's actually just more presentation on stage that you're
Mm.
judged on. So, you know, but I just like to me it's just a bucket list item. I'm not trying to win anything. I don't think I'm even in a class where I'm going to win anything. To me it's just getting up there and facing that fear and just doing it.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
it's close. So who knows what I'll do after that. I don't know. I guess maybe go to Shoney's or Denny's or something.
Well, you definitely have to do that and eat all your candy corn. Get that
Oh my
in.
gosh, I know. So, yeah, so I've been yeah, and I know we got to go. But, you know, before workout and after workout, I'm supposed to eat a few carbs. So it's like a half a scoop of some carb dry powder mix before, and then immediately after I work out, I'm supposed to have another one of those, you know, just to have some carbs right around the workout time to get through. But I bought a small pack of pumpkins, and I was like, I'm just gonna trade out 2 pumpkins for the carb drink that I'm supposed to have. I'm not gonna look at the nutrition facts to see whether or not it actually is the same amount of carbs or whether I'm getting a whole bunch of other stuff I'm not supposed to. You know, just put on blinders. So
I knew it.
have
I
been
knew you had to
I have
be.
been sneaking almonds, and I have been sneaking pumpkins. You know, those little candy corn pumpkins, because I usually I eat like a bag of those a day. Literally a bag of those pumpkins a day during October. So I feel like 1 or 2 pumpkins a day is like I'm
You've won.
I'm
You
I'm on
win.
a diet.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. See you next week, man.
All right. Take it easy.